Hi all, welcome back. I have been off for a few days. I normally would update every couple of days. This time I've given it about a week. I haven't been feeling great. I've been having a bit of dizzy spells, whatnot. I thought I'd... Now this is personal information that happened to me the 1st of January this year, first day of 2020. I actually had a stroke. I ended up in hospital. Lost feeling in my... couldn't control my hands and speak properly. And I'm only 30 years old. A teeny tiny, minuscule blood vessel popped in my brain and left about an inch round, that mark inside my head, because they gave me an MRI about 6 weeks later, and it obviously healed up, but the blood where it was obviously dissolves, but the iron that's in there leaves a permanent stain in your brain. So if you were to cut my head open, you'd see a spot in there. So fun. Yeah, so I've been feeling a bit off. I thought maybe it's exhaustion or something, because I've been working like a crazy person. But yeah, I mean, and of course, you start getting a bit dizzy. I'm paranoid that I'm going to be paranoid I'm going to get another stroke, basically. I know it was, in the scheme of things, it was about the most minor one you could ever get, but it scared the living pants off me. And my daughter was born at home in our bed, and I delivered her. No doctors, no pain meds, no nothing. It was the missus, and she said, "I'm giving birth." And I went, "Yes, you are." And it was just catch. That baby came out in 5 seconds. That was not as scary as having a stroke. I can tell you that right now. That was pretty disgusting, but amazing at the same time. But it wasn't scary. Whereas the stroke that knocked me out absolutely shook me to my very core, and I still haven't mentally recovered from it. I actually have, I think I suffer from some mental disorders after that one. Fun. But enough talking about me and how screwed up my sense of self is. I have been making progress on this thing. You might notice it's not super aligned and whatnot. It's probably because I was going for function over formality on this thing. I've got the radiator mounted. It's not a great one. I'm hoping it's going to be okay. It is a big XC wide one. And I've got new hoses, got my fan on, got my starter motor in. I got my trans on finally. And I ended up buying new torque converter nuts because they're pretty particular. Got my battery in. Now, I promised to talk someone through the gauges when I was making them. So I bought a kit. Came with that one, and that one. So it was 3. And I bought the volt gauge on its own and the little tacho on its own. I don't know how good these are going to be. They're like the cheapest ones you could get. I made the little box they sit in. I have wired it up. I tech screwed it on so I can remove it at times. Now I've lost the little doodad that goes on that. I must have. The oil pressure is fairly straightforward. That's going to go into the back of the block. Now I'm not a Sparky by any means, but and I've got my little start circuit here. So it's got an accessories, an off, another accessories, and a start. So it's kind of cool. I was trying to work it out. So wire up the gauges. The oil is pretty straightforward. It's got that little guy that goes in the back, and it just runs and plugs into the back of the block. That just goes straight to the battery. This one, because I'm not a Sparky by any means, and I've been trying to figure it out, an amp gauge, which is what that is, I worked out that's got to be basically in a line of power travel. So basically from, I believe it's something like the alternator to the battery, it's got to be in that, so that the charge goes through this, reads how much it's charging, and then goes like so. It's just it just meters the flow and tells you if it's charging or not. And the temperature gauge is just this thing. So if you get like a heat gun on that, you can make that move. So that's not really difficult. This tacho, there's a stack of wires that go into it, but I think they're in here somewhere. So that's that one. The green one goes to the negative of the coil. No, negative of the coil. Yes. I haven't wired this one up. Goes to the ignition, so on, off, and then the other wires are actually one was earth, and one was lighting, I think. And that was it. So there's a little light in there. It's a bit shitty, actually. So I've been scared off by wiring things for ages. It's not as scary as it looks. Just got to do a reasonably neat job. So now I'm in that sort of... I'm off getting... I've got the old boy to go get me another volt reg from the alternator, because I hooked the alternator up with my little light on it. So this is an internal reg alternator, so they're the ones you want. So fairly straightforward. The big post just goes straight to the battery, it's positive. And that one goes to positive via a light globe. So, you know, just a light globe. Because that's your idiot light, that tells you if the alternator's not doing anything. Tells you power's to it, but tells you that it's not charging. And when I had it on there and spun it up, because I could spin up the alternator with the drill to the point where it's doing something, and the light goes out. But the problem is it wasn't charging the battery. So half of it was working, half of it wasn't. And I'm sure there's probably Sparkies out there going, oh, you're doing it all wrong. But, you know, I'm just winging it, buddies. I know stuff all in the scheme of things. So there's the insides. It looks like a mess. But actually, it's fairly straightforward. All the gauges come with wiring. With little... like instructions, so they're very straightforward. Also, online there is so much information. I looked up how to wire up a Bosch alternator, which is, I mean, that's a Bosch alternator there, but this is an Ingram one, I think, which is probably a Chinese copy or some shit, but they're the same exact alternator, so that's how I worked out what all those posts do, which stoked me because I've never really known what they do. All these years, never knew. So yes, we've made some progress on the stand. You haven't seen much on the coupe and that, because I've just been doing bodywork and straightening the car with filler and all that stuff, and it is not exciting even in the slightest. So I just haven't been showing it. If you wonder why, stuff's been happening in the background, but nothing's been interesting or even worth showing. So I mean, if you want to know how I do bog work, go watch the... I did some bodywork on the XD and I showed you how I did it. Same exact process on that. It's no different. It's not rust repair. Interesting. Bog work, not at all. And if you look at YouTube comments, everybody's an expert on bog work. So, and luckily, I've been doing this in between bog drying. So, and it's been cold as hell, so bog's been taking a long time to dry, which is awesome. I have a radiator cap. So the frame ended up being 2 meters long, and then 3 increments of 1 meter beams, and then I had another one that I cut up and turned into little uprights, and then I chopped up this other half of that one into these little brackets here, and then I got some of this, I think that's 20mm square tube, and I screwed up this one. But I got that one right, so I cut out a triangle and then bent it and then re-welded it so it comes up and then up. And that one I cut a bit wrong, but, you know, neither here nor there. And I had to get a universal radiator hose for this one because that style of thermostat housing would never ever go to this type of radiator. From factory, the ones that have this radiator have a different thermostat that comes out and comes to about here. Thermostat housing, should I say. And that hose is more straight, doesn't actually go down. Whereas I found out the bottom one seems to be the same, but I have a spare one now. Still need to get a fuel tank. Worst case scenario, we end up running just a jerry can with a hose into it. I don't really want to do that. I want this thing to be self-contained. Finally got the dipstick tube into the trans. What a nightmare that was. Whoever thought that was a good idea to take that out, I hate you so much. Because they are a nightmare to put back in. But it's in. So the trans is hooked up. That's slipped on beautifully. It all just worked really well. So thank you for watching. Stay tuned. Sorry about my little health ramble at the beginning, but you know, life gets you in some weird ways. So stay tuned. Videos will still be coming. I just took a bit of a break, so thank you.